So, Brad, I'm just going to come right out and say it. You look different today, my friend, and I can't put my finger on what's different. I feel like we just woke up at the campground. That's one way to put it. And you know how
exactly
you see friends are
like
rolling out of a tent and they look a certain way? And you're like, oh, well, that's campground Brad.
No, that's kind of what I feel like, too. We've got a house guest who's a very sweet kid. We've known him since him and Alex were friends at high school. And he had a summer job, and the summer job's over, and college, he's going to college at Temple. College hasn't started yet. So, and his family live like in Texas or something. And he needed a place to stay, So we're like, stay with us. It'll be a good time. We'll set you up on an air mattress in the basement.
Oh, that's very nice.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And it's been great. He's a very nice kid.
Well, how does that relate to how you look, though?
My bathroom is in the basement.
So, like where you keep all your stuff.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah. Like I've got all my hair care products, all my meds, my toothbrush. Everything's in the basement, and this kid is a typical 20-something. He sleeps in till noon, So
sure.
I want to give him, there's nothing worse than when you're staying at somebody's house, and let's say you're sleeping on the floor in the living room, and then somebody goes by and you're in bed, and they walk past. It's just awkward and unnerving, and I don't want to do that to the poor kid. So I'm trying to give him a little bit of his own space there. And as an effect, Dave, I wasn't able to put my pomade into my hair like I typically do.
It's pomade that's different.
Pomade is what gives me my distinctive look. Also, I'm badly in need of a shave, but I'm going to go Thursday and get my hair cut and have her trim the beard so I look really nice for our stage show in Boston in a couple of weeks.
Yes, that's right. Okay, so to describe for everybody at home what Brad looks like, have you ever seen in local news where it's like, local man found after 10-day search of the forest, right? And that's what I'm seeing on the video monitor right now in Philadelphia. Brad, the hair is a little bit off. Yeah. The beard is a little bit off.
Yeah.
You kind of look like you're stumbling out of the forest like, I just need a cup of water. It's been 10 days. Okay, I'm fascinated by this. Pomade. So I didn't know that you use pomade in your hair. Yeah. First of all, it always looks distinguished and lovely. Yeah. So kudos to you. Second of all, how does one use pomade? I'm kind of ignorant on a lot of this stuff. How does one use pomade?
There's two types I've experimented with, both by Old Spice, by the way, because I'm cheap. But there's the high gloss and the low gloss. The low gloss is actually a little bit easier to work with. The high gloss is like a really thick gel, and you've really got to work it in your fingers before you put it in your hair.
Heat it up kind of a thing? Okay, yeah.
So I use the low gloss, and it's more, I can put just a little, like the size of a pea in my fingers and spread it around, and then I put it through my hair, and then my hair kind of stays put.
Okay, so do you have to have wet hair to do it?
You can put it on wet hair, and that kind of sometimes gives you that kind of shiny wet hair look.
That 50s greaser kind of look? Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
And which sometimes, I gotta admit, I'm kind of into. And then sometimes you let it dry for a little bit, and then you put it through, and then it looks a little bit more natural. Like it looks a little bit like this if I do this and didn't move. See, now
now it looks closer to your hair than what you had when we originally got on the call.
But but the combination of no pomade, the fact that I kind of need a haircut, and it's just it is what it is over here. Is I don't have my usual standards of excellence in my face.
My standards of excellence. So don't worry, ladies. You can take the week off. He's got his standards of excellence dropped for right now. So wait. So I want to go back to pomade. Is pomade the same thing as dippity-doo? Is that the same thing?
Dippity-doo is very different. Pomade is okay. So before I used to use like mousse, and then there was that was the 80s. That was the 80s. This was back to me. I asked my doctor. I said, my hair's starting to thin out. If I put that mousse stuff in my hair, will it grow? He says, I don't know. I put that cow stuff on my lawn and it does great. But I used to use a little bit of mousse. Then it was styling gel. And then I just naturally moved up to pomade.
move up to the lowest priced Old Spice that you could find. Well, regardless, I'm excited to see you in Boston and excited to see a pomaded up Brad Geiger. That is still. I did not know that. I've known you for 25 years. It also shows just how world ignorant I am that I never noticed that you used or were a pomade guy. Or
what do you use in your hair?
We shared hotel rooms, by the way, and I didn't know that you use pomade.
What do you use in your hair?
Well, as evidenced by the hot mess that I am today, nothing. Look at this.
So here's what we'll do.
Train wreck.
For the Comic Lab stage show, I'll do your hair.
Oh my God! You're gonna do
I'm
my hair.
I'm gonna do your hair. We'll come out on stage and I'll say, "This is the new Dave Kellett," and you'll have pomade, and you'll look great. You'll look as good as me.
And on that note, I'm going to say hello, everybody, and welcome to Comic Lab, the show about two handsome, pomaded gentlemen making comics.
And doing each other's hair and making a living from comics. I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his less well-coiffed friend, Dave Kellett, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of the comics documentary strip.
And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. And the big opener for this week, Bradley J., is we're going to talk about San Diego Comic-Con, which just wrapped up last week.
Yeah.
Got back, and I will say, you know that every year I love going to Comic-Con. I'm one of the rare cartoonists that love it. I really enjoy it. I love the energy of it. I get just a little kick from talking to people for 5 days and sketching for 5 days. And I will be honest, we're good at it at this point. We've got it down to a science. We have this big checklist that we go through before we leave. We prep for it about 3 to 4 months ahead of time. All the stuff is ready. This Comic-Con, Brad, was the first Comic-Con, and I'm saying that I'm talking about driving down to Comic-Con. This was the first one where I said to myself, "Oh, I can see an end date to this."
Oh, really?
I can see a day where an older Dave Kellett is like, "My old creaking bones don't want to do this anymore." You know? So I'm 51 now, and actually probably in the best shape that I've been in a decade.
You look good.
Quite honestly, you know. Well, I don't even have the pomade in, Brad. I mean, thank you. This is great.
I noticed that starting up. I can tell you've lost a little weight, as a matter of fact, is in your face.
So from last Comic-Con, I'm down 40, which is significant.
That is significant.
And so it made a difference physically while I was there. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not 22 anymore. It's a different Dave Kellett going to Comic-Con, right? And so during load-in and the drive down, I was like, I'm not emotionally or physically prepared for this show because it's a lot. It's a lot to put out for 5 days. And so I'm just putting out there for the first time in my life, I was like, oh, maybe there's an end date to this. Maybe I don't do this forever. I like we've said before, I never want to retire from being a cartoonist. I would love to do a version of what Schultz had and be near my deathbed when I finally put down my pen, right? Just because I think that's good for my own heart and my own soul. But I can see an end date to going to Comic-Con, which might surprise you.
Wow. No, that does surprise me a lot because I kind of figured you'd be there until the last dog died, but till
the last dog died? What a fright. Well, I've never heard that. Is that a Midwesternism?
I never heard anybody who hasn't heard that. I've even heard that phrase on TV, until the last dog dies. Yeah.
Why would the last dog die? What's with the dogs?
Well, the dogs are always the last ones to go. You know, they
That's true. And in a post-apocalyptic film, there's always dogs running around the streets.
Exactly.
You know?
They know how to take care of themselves.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. They'll figure out how to catch a mouse.
But I kind of figured you would stick around at Comic-Con. Like, I cannot imagine walking down that aisle and not seeing your end cap there. It's been a long time you've had that same spot.
I mean, next year will be my 25th Comic-Con, Brad.
Wow.
If you account for the 2 COVID years that I didn't go. So my first year was 1999. Mm-hmm. So 2026 will be my 25th year.
Were you exhibiting in 99?
Yes, I was.
Holy shit. You and Steve Troop were probably the only 2 people doing it back then.
Yeah, it was. Well, no. Hold on. Let me think. 2000 might be my first exhibiting.
Yeah.
I went in 99.
But still, 2000 is awfully early to be exhibiting it's still a long time is what I'm saying.
Yes. So regardless, I always thought that I had a verve for Comic-Con that would last me forever. So anyway, so this is the first year where I was like, we weren't mentally prepared because both Beth and I, my assistant Beth and I, had sort of life events leading up to Comic-Con that were frankly distracting. Just stuff that was going on in family vacations, summer trips, visitors, this and that. And so I just wasn't mentally prepared. And all of a sudden the day was there and I was driving down to San Diego.
Yeah.
But here's where preparation comes in handy, because we now have, between Beth and I, over the last 8 years especially, we've really sort of itemized an ISO 9000 Comic-Con, if you know what I mean. Like we have this big honking checklist. And I think you physically have seen the checklist.
Yes, I have.
1 year?
Yeah, it's impressive.
It's printed out on 11 by 17 paper, and it fills the entire paper in terms of what we have to do before Comic-Con. So we get it all done. We drive down. The show had what I consider a markedly less Hollywood expenditure than I have seen in the last decade, aside from the strike year. And that's going to come into how I did at Comic-Con, I think. So Fantastic Four was opening like that weekend or around that time.
That same weekend.
And there were Fantastic Four spend outs by Marvel, but frankly, not like what you had seen in past years. And most importantly, not Hall H appearances that bring people up off the floor. You know?
Really?
So for those internationally, Hall H is the big hall at Comic-Con, and that's where they do the, here's Robert Downey Jr., clap, 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 and 5,000 to 8,000 people go and watch him talk, and they're all off the floor for that hour and a half, right?
You can see the floor just, almost like, those tsunami videos where the ocean recedes.
Where it pulls back,
yes.
Yeah,
that's
and then they
kind
come
of what it
rushing back
reminds
in
me
90
of.
minutes later. Yeah, that's a great visual metaphor, so there weren't really a lot of Hall H things this year, Brad, for anyone in any Hollywood studio that were pulling people off the stage. And frankly, what that left was better talks at Comic-Con that were more comics focused. I noticed this. A lot of people noticed this. There were more interesting talks that weren't just like, hey, wave, wave, wave from Pedro Pascal, but not really saying anything interesting. There were a lot more comics focused and art focused talks this year, which I appreciated. Anyway, all that to say, it was a packed show this year on the floor. It was really dominant on the floor in terms of crowds. I, as always, have this corner booth that I have loved for the last, I don't know, Brad, what, decade now?
At least 10 years you've had that spot.
And boy, is it a lovely prime location. And we have figured out how to perfectly use that 20 by 20 space, because it's 2 10 linear foot tables on either side. And I will put the photos up on Comic Lab to share with folks, just like a sort of layout of the table. But we figured out how to pleasantly go vertical so that it's not overwhelming to people, and to give myself enough space to sketch and interact with readers, which is lovely. Anyway, the show itself, Brad, the headline is, it was my best Comic-Con ever. Better even than the strike year.
Wow.
Better by, I think, $2,500. So we'll go into that.
So that's what I wanted to hear, because the whole thing going in was 2 years during the strike. 2 years ago when the strike hit, you had a high water mark, and I think a lot of people did, right? Because it took all of Hollywood out, and the focus returned to comics. The year after that, the question was, what's this going to be like? What are you going to do when Hollywood comes back and Hall H is dominant again? And your report then was that you did a little bit better. Like you didn't recede. You did.
Well, no, I think I went down like 3%, if you remember, last year.
But you had gone up from
I'd
the
gone
year
up
before.
so much, but I'd gone up from the year prior.
Like if you would skip the strike year, you had gone up.
Yes, that's a great way to describe it.
That was our conversation. But still, you did much better, right? And now you've gone beyond what that strike year was, and you beat your previous high water mark by a significant amount of money. The first question people are going to ask is, how did you do that? What did you make changes in the booth design? Did you have new merchandise? Did you have a new approach? I know the one thing that you do that I really appreciate in terms of strategy is, let's picture your footprint like a box, and you cut that or a square, right? and you
Yes.
cut that square on the diagonal, and
Yes.
you turn it into two triangles. The front-facing triangle is all business. It's all you and books and displays and merchandise. You've got a curtain on that diagonal, and everything on that back triangle is storage.
Yes.
And we never see the storage. We don't see all those books piled up. We don't see any of that. And we don't see you if you decide to go behind those curtains for a little break and have a sip of water or
a protein bar and a sip of water.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
And I always thought that was like one of the wisest ways to use that space is just to bisect it and because that way you've got all of your merch there and we don't have to see the piled up boxes and all that crap that's so low rent. But the front side is all business. So what did you do differently this year? Were there strategies, merchandise, approaches, design that helped you beat your former high by such a large amount of money?
Well, yeah, it's funny you should say that all the stuff that makes a booth look low rent, and that's all the cardboard, all the food supplies that you have for you and staff, and all the this and that. So I really tried to make the booth look good because it's a reflection on the comics. And also, I know that this makes me sound silly, but we only have one life to live, right? And a part of me for 5 days likes playing storekeep.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I get to wear a different hat for 5 days and I get to walk a different path in life. And good Lord knows I would not want to do it for 365 days a year. But for 5 days, I get to put on a different hat and be a little storekeep, and it's kind of fun. So Beth and I try to make really consistent signage where everything is consistent, it's clean, it's pretty, it's the displays are pleasant, the signage is pleasant. And it all works together in font choices, color choices. It's a design exercise, right? That's what it is at the end of the day. You make a design exercise. And part of that is reflective of, if they've got the booth put together nice, then yes, I want to pick up the book. And if the book is put together nice, then yes, I'd like to get the book. You know, all that. Yeah. It's sort of really subtle psychology, but it's kind of fun to just play storekeep for 5 days, you know?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love about webcomics, by the way, is that I get to play different kind of roles in life over the year, you know, and I know it's silly, but I like to play storekeep for 5 days. It's fun. Anyway, so Beth and I try to have very consistent signage, pleasant displays, pleasant display heights, everything within reach. There were a couple things to answer your earlier question that we did do differently this year. Normally, I have these wooden, really nice looking displays where my original art is on display. Because I'm one of the kind of cartoonists that I love original art, and I love my original art being out in the world and up on walls, right? To me, that brings joy. Some artists like to hold on to all the original art. I like to get it out into the world. Yeah. And so I have all my original art on display. And in past years, I would have books down at the table level between the original art and the person standing at the table, if you can imagine that. Yeah. It only adds about 8 inches of difference, right? We brought the original art forward this year, nothing between the Comic-Con person and the original art. Mm-hmm. And boy, howdy, did that make a difference in a way that I never would have predicted. And I still don't know if it's a quid pro quo of cause and effect. But boy, we sold a lot more original art this year in a way that we've never sold original art. Yeah. Just because of that? I don't know, but it sure made a difference.
So I've seen your original art setup, and you've got each of your originals, which are, we're talking Sheldon originals, so they're comic strip shaped.
Right, I don't have Drive originals, exactly. Yes,
and they're all long pieces of art, and you've got them inside plastic sheets, right? You've got them inside of like a little plastic envelope, so to speak. And so you've got all of these. And so if you walk up to your original art display, there might be like 2 or 3 shelves of these, and you can go up and flip through them and look through them and see, here's one on Star Trek. Here's one on Lord of the Rings. Here's one on Dune. Here's one on raising children. Here's one on puppies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can literally go through and page through those. And my theory is that what happened is as somebody's up there, I'll bet you, tell me if this didn't happen multiple times, Dave. Somebody comes up, they say, oh, I'd like anatomy of dogs. And you said, oh, that's fantastic. Can I put a sketch in there for you? And they, of course, said yes. And then either they did it or you suggested it. You said, oh, while I'm doing that, feel free to page through those originals. I really enjoy sharing those. And they found something they liked. And all of a sudden, a sale of a book, which is, a perfectly good sale, turned into a sale of a book plus original art, which is a much better sale for you as a creator. How many times did that happen?
Well, yeah, a version of what you described happened a lot, actually. Yeah. Because I like to keep the original art next to me where I sign on the table for a couple of reasons. One, it's easy for me to reorganize it after people rifle through it sometimes. Yeah. Two, it actually is. I know it's stupid, but it's kind of fun to see which ones they laugh at. I know that's childish of me, but I'm not immune to someone enjoying my comics. So if there's one that they really laugh at, I always say, "Oh, which one got you?" And they show it to me, and I go, "Oh, it's nice. It's a nice moment." And then number three, you're right. While I'm sketching, I don't often point it out to them, but sometimes people like to watch me sketch. Sometimes they're like, I'll let him do his thing, and I'll flip through these original art. So normally we sell somewhere between, 5 and 8 original art, right? And this year we sold 24 pieces of original art, which is a huge jump up from what I normally do.
And that's a big boost towards your bottom line, because those are high ticket items. You don't sell those for $1.50.
Yeah, they're not Old Spice pomade. They're going for good prices.
They're the good stuff.
I love that it's. I love self-identifying. Like, oh yeah, I get the Old Spice because it's cheap.
Yes,
I love someone who honors themselves by buying the cheapest pomade they can.
Does the trick. As you can. And by the way, here's why that Old Spice is a good buy for as little as it costs me. As soon as I don't use it, you're like, Brad, what's the matter with you? Are you feeling okay? It was a very small investment that makes me look so much better.
Sharp as a tack. Yeah. It looks sharp as a tack, my friend. So then the other big change this year, and maybe I should have known that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Beth was convinced that this was going to happen. And I was like, well, we'll see. Was we had done the Anatomy of Dogs book because, God, I love dogs and Beth loves dogs. And we just had a great fun making the book. We just laughed a lot making the book. Some books are just delightful to make, Yeah. And so I know you're not a dog person, but for me, it was a great joy. So it was a real fun book to put out, but I didn't know if it would do well at Comic-Con. And boy, howdy, it sold by 50% more than any other book we've ever had at Comic-Con.
Wow. More than dinosaurs?
So dinosaurs, I looked it up. Last year, dinosaurs sold almost 100 copies of dinosaurs last year at Comic-Con. And it was 98 copies last year sold. This year, Anatomy of Dogs sold 146 copies.
Wow. That's a 50% improvement.
Yes, yeah. Good snap math there, Brad. That's great. Yes, and so at $35 a pop, that adds to a big chunk of the bottom line there. So anyway, those were the two, and then I had I always have perennial good sellers. The Dinosaurs book dropped down from last year, but still sold well. The Pugs book dropped down from previous. It always had a high watermark, but that also dropped down.
Yeah.
Long story short, I think the big change this year was a lot more people on the floor because of a lack of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And then the Anatomy of Dogs book really moved, and the original art really moved. Wow. So I was quite happy with Comic-Con. It was a delightful show. I really enjoyed it. Once I got there, I was not so much like, I'm not emotionally prepared for it. Once you're in the hall, it's like a lot of life. Once you're there, you're like, all right, let's do it. I'm ready to go. So anyway, I thought it was a tremendously fun show, and we enjoyed it a lot. And we're going to have our big meeting later today, actually, to do a postmortem? Postmortem on what went right, what went wrong.
Yeah.
And we always write it down.
That's very smart, because I always think I'm going to remember this stuff, and I never do.
Oh, you don't? You don't?
Yeah.
You really don't. And so what we have learned to do, by the way, is during one of the mornings of Comic-Con, usually by day 3 or 4, once we have everything set the way we want it to be, we go around and we take photos all around the booth. And then we have learned to take photos from behind the booth too, to remember how we had things set up for us behind the booth. No joke, it makes a big difference because you think you remember, you don't remember. So we do that. We write down all the notes of what worked, what didn't work, and then we make changes. So one thing that we have had a continuing problem with is people think the original art is prints. And then they go, oh, I'll take one of these prints. And then we go, oh, no, because, and emotionally I get it, they think that the cost of the print is going to be somewhere like, $10, $15, $20
Right.
in there. And then you have to say, oh, no, I'm so sorry, this is original art. It adds a complication and consternation that doesn't need to be there. So what we're going to do for next year is we're going to make little 1-inch red stickers with white type that just says original art, archival inks on acid-free paper. And that, I think, will just sort of emotionally prepare people for what they're flipping through.
That's a really good, because you're preparing them for a little bit bigger price tag. So as you're doing that, you've got to fight the battle before the first bullet, right? You've got to say, this is original art. It's one of a kind. And archival ink on Bristol board is a really good way to get that thought across. Like, you're getting something that is a piece of art. It's not going to fade and look crappy over a certain amount of time. It's going to be something that you are going to be happy to have as a piece, as opposed to a print that's like $5 and who cares?
Right. And so it's interesting because repeated Comic-Cons have taught us that no matter how much signage we put around the original art saying that it's original art, and there's a lot of signage around it, in front of it, to the side of it, and above it, right? Saying what it is. People will grab the thing and go, oh, I like this print. And you're like, it's original art. And also, you just realize that people aren't familiar with what original art looks like. They don't just see it. And because so much art is created digitally these days, a lot of people just don't see original art anymore. Anyway,
wow, that's an
putting a
interesting
tiny
thought.
little 1-inch sticker on the plastic on the upper corner, we think, is the way to solve that. So we're going to try that next year, and we'll see if that's...
And put it on each original art piece?
We think, We're not sure.
I could see it. Like, you're not hurting it because it's going on the plastic, so that's not a problem.
We already printed them up, but we printed up, I think it was 800 stickers for $25. And so they're low tack. You can take them off easy. So,
exactly. No, that sounds like a good idea. I am so happy you had such a breakout success. Like, you really, I was not expecting you to top the strike year quite so quickly.
Nor was I. I thought it was going to be kind of about where last year's was, if you know what I mean. Like, and I would have been fine with that, by the way. Would have been fine with that.
And again, as we pointed out, that was still, although it wasn't like a rise over the strike year, it was a rise over the year before by a small amount. And it was like, hey, that's still a win. I specifically remember us putting this in the win column for you last year. And then for you to come around and do this, it's really, really spectacular that you put this all together. And also for people listening at home that might be a little bit earlier on their own trajectory, what Dave is reaping now, what he's harvesting, if you will, is a lifetime of self-publishing, because there's another reason that Dave can do what he's doing here. And that is, he's got more than 3 books out on the table. He's got, I'm sure, a large number of Sheldon collections. Tell me, go through everything that you had on that table.
Yeah, let's mentally walk around the booth, and we can. So, Drive, which this might surprise people, does not sell at Comic-Con, right?
That's jaw-dropping to me.
It does bonkers numbers on Kickstarter that I'm really proud of. I can't sell a Drive to save my life at Comic-Con. People do not want Drive, and I get it. It's new sci-fi that they're not familiar with. It's tough to entice them into it. However, Drive did have its best year ever this year. Sold about $1,000 worth of Drive stuff, right? And so that was great. So we have all 4 Drive hardcovers, all 4 Drive soft covers there.
Yeah.
So that's at one end of the booth, and then there's about 4 linear feet of original art, right? And then there's about 3 linear feet of me sketching. And so we tend to keep that pretty sparse because it's the interaction. I like to let little kids lean on the table and watch me sketch. Yeah. And then even though you try not to, people put their drinks down. So we've learned just to have some space for people to put their drinks down where it won't make mess. And then at the primary corner of the table, we always put whatever the new book is. So that's going to be Anatomy of Dogs. And that's backed by the pins, which I have tremendous fun making pins. I know it's It's silly again, but it's one of those things where I like to put on a different hat. And pins are my one bit of merch that I make that are delightful. I just think pins it's a fun medium to work in enamel, and I delight in Disney pins, so it's fun for me to make my own pins. So we have there's 3 little racks of pins. I think we have now 25, 30 different pins we've done over the years. And so that's fun. And then moving down the list, there are the rest of the booth along the far corner is all books. So it's the 4 Anatomy of Animal books, which displayed really lovely this year. When it was the first year, we had all 4. And then the Pugs book, the 4 or 5 remaining Sheldon books, Brad, and that includes my favorite, Still Got It, which of course I still got it. And I'm trying to think what other books there are. Can you think of any other ones?
There was, you had the collections. I remember Pop Culture was a collection.
Oh, that one's sold out now, so that
really?
one's gone.
Coffee?
Yeah,
what
through.
About the coffee collection?
Coffee sold through. Wow. That was an Eisner nominee, and it sold through.
Holy cats.
You know what? I just realized they're above the shelf of me, over me here. So yeah, it's only about 3 or 4 of the remaining Sheldon books, the Pugs books, the Anatomy books, and Drive.
Wow.
So that's the books that are now available at Comic-Con. And anyway, it was a lovely year. A lot of really nice friends, which from all around the world came up. I got to see Ryan North, our friend Ryan North of FF. You might remember, Brad. That's Fantastic Four.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, because we don't have time to say Fantastic Four, a joke I constantly love to joke with Ryan about. And then Scott C came by
nice.
Got to see Scott C. That was lovely. Got to see Greg Evans of Luann. Got to see, I'm going to go down the whole list. Got to see Raina. It was lovely to see Raina.
Really?
Got to see, Raina was there for a talk. And so it was lovely to see Raina. I'm trying to think who else came by the booth. I mean, honestly, a ton of cartoonists. Michael Sweater came by. That was really nice.
He's a good guy.
And so anyway, it was lovely. Then there's about 30 or 40 Hollywood friends from my wife's world, and they only come down on Saturday because they're only doing a talk. But some of them are flying to Australia to film movies with Mel Brooks. That's very exciting for friends. Some friends are working on other films that I can't talk about. But anyway, they would come by the booth, and some of them would be in cosplay so they could hide themselves. And so that was fun. And then I grew up in San Diego, so there's always friends and family that come. That means a lot to me. So anyway, it was a lovely, lovely Comic-Con, Brad. I have nothing but good things to say about it. And as is always the case, I want to try to find a financially viable way to get my buddy Brad out there. I'm going to be honest on Brad's behalf, though. It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's expensive to ship books. It's expensive to get the flight. It's expensive for food and stay.
Yeah.
The booth is expensive, so I get it. I mean, there's a reason why I don't do New York Comic-Con. It's expensive to go across the country and have everything there, but gosh, as is always the case, I would love to have my friend Brad Geiger there. So some point in the years ahead. And I should say thank you to all the Comic Lab listeners that came up to the booth and got the free Comic Lab pin and the kind words. Brad, we had listeners from, I'm going to go through my personal mental checklist here, Mexico, all around the U.S., Toronto, Japan, and one from Indonesia, by the way. Wow. I forgot to tell you about that one. There was one from Indonesia that came up. So anyway, it was a really lovely global audience for Comic Lab that came up. That was fun.
That's awesome.
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
Oh, Dave, do you hear that song? That means that, surprisingly enough, we were able to get her to come back for a return engagement. It is the one and only Susan McTaggart. We had another person jump up to the $10 level, and we wanted to make sure that Susan McTaggart could do a personal affirmation.
Oh, Bradley John. Lovely to see you, Brad. Although I must say, something looks different about you today, Bradley. Something looks different. Has a train gotten into a wreck recently, Bradley? Because it looks like something's different with Bradley John today.
Yeah, I'm not up to my usual methods of greatness over here.
Well, Bradley John, I just want to say, even in this windblown look, and it does look a little windblown, Bradley, everything's working. So, Bradley, who do we have a personal affirmation for?
I'm so glad. The person that this week that gets a personal affirmation is Stephanie Hewitt.
Stephanie, lovely to see you, Stephanie. Thank you so much for supporting Bradley John. It helps support the Pomade Fund.
That's
I
right.
hope you know that, Stephanie. A little bit of pomade makes a big difference on a young man like Bradley John. Does make a difference. Because right now, Stephanie, I want to say, it looks like he's been sleeping in a box. That's what it looks like.
Can we, we're making Stephanie wait for this personal affirmation. Can we get the personal affirmation?
Well, Bradley John, before we do, I just have to give a little shout out to my new book dropping this week from Penguin Random House.
Yes.
The new book from Susan McTaggart. It's called, Bradley John, Life is Like a Colonoscopy. You scramble, scrape, and suffer, and then there's a cookie at the end. The new book from Susan McTaggart coming out from Penguin Random House this week. Look for that, friends, in bookstores everywhere.
Susan, is there any reason you're writing colonoscopy-themed books now? Has there been a change in your life? Have you reached a certain age? What's going on?
Bradley, I want to say, no man that has hair that looks like that should be asking a woman about their colonoscopies.
All right, Susan, so what is Stephanie's personal affirmation?
Well, Stephanie, sweetheart, I want to say to you, I want you to make your line art like your outlook on life. Bold, daring, and sleeps in on Sundays. So that's my personal affirmation for you soon, Stephanie. Go out and achieve greatness, Stephanie. I have nothing but the highest hopes for you. And Bradley, with a little bit of pomade and a little bit of Old Spice, I have nothing but the highest hopes for you, my little sweetheart. And we'll see you next week on Comic Lab.
Thank you, Susan McTaggart, for another soul-fortifying affirmation and for reminding us that all success is just a vision board away, assuming you don't get bored with your vision. Dave, you missed her again. I can't understand it. How every time we do a Susan McTaggart section, you're nowhere to be found.
It's my own failing. Well, anyway, what did she say? Nice things?
She said she's getting a colonoscopy. I got that. And she said, she also said, and not for nothing, she said, I look great. You should have been here. You would have heard it.
Good.
She said, I look fantastic.
Doctors are recommending them as early as 40, so that's great, And so, and also, as annoying as they are, they're not bad. So you should not be scared and get them.
In all seriousness.
Listen to the public service that we're doing right now.
No, you should not be overwhelmed by that. And speaking of things, there are lots of things that overwhelm us in life. One of them is getting a website, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You hear Brad and Dave all the time saying you need to own and control your work. And the first step of doing that is with the website. And how do you get that started? What's the first step in that? It's securing web hosting. And we want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's show, DreamHost. We've both been using DreamHost for a long time. I've been using it for more than 10 years. And we feel very comfortable in pointing you to dreamhost.com/comiclab, where you can find out the great deals that they have on web hosting.
And this is the God's honest truth, because Brad and I don't take sponsors of the show that we don't personally believe in. Yeah. And DreamHost has been my host for, 8 years now, 9 years, a little bit less than Brad. Brad was the one that tipped me to how good they are. And boy, do I have zero regrets. And this goes to the core argument that we make for so much of owning and controlling your own career, that when you have your own website, no matter what happens on social media, no matter what happens with whatever publisher you're working with, you have a place online that you own and control. And so that's why hosting like at DreamHost is so important for your career. And so DreamHost has put together, and it's ending soon, so don't wait on this. They put together 2 packages just for Comic Lab, dreamhost.com/Comic Lab, 2 different packages. You can sign up at the yearly level, at the 3-yearly level, or at the monthly level, all of which are great prices, none of which you will regret, because honestly, it's pennies on the dollar to what you would pay at certain other hosting services. And so Brad and I can heartily recommend both the idea of getting a web page going for yourself that you own and control, and then bring it over to dreamhost.com/Comic Lab.
Absolutely. And just to tie this up into something that I was going to bring up as an update anyway, just recently, obviously, one of the comics I do is Not Safe for Work. Just recently, a platform called Itch.io, itch.io, had to delist a bunch of their NSFW titles because of pressure from MasterCard. And so a bunch of people who relied on that exposure and that income found themselves delisted by Itch.io because Itch.io was forced to make a unilateral decision. And that has brought up an awful lot of different discussions and stuff that we'll probably talk about in future episodes. But what this underlines is the importance of having your own website that you can turn to when this happens on a platform like Itch.io, or whether you're bounced out of Webtoons, or wherever it is that you don't have control over your own work. You need your own website. And DreamHost has guidelines for NSFW content, just the same way Patreon and a bunch of these other places do. But this is a place that I also point my NSFW friends to and say, this is a place where you too can own and control your own work.
So, just to put a button on a button, if you're feeling Itch.io about bad things like that, look at that. Look what I did, Brad. Head over to dreamhost.com/Comic Lab. So, Brad, let's jump into our second topic of today, which you had challenged me to a couple weeks ago, and I've had to build up the moral fortitude, the courage.
I was wondering if you forgot about it or whether you just...
I did actually forget about it, yes. Amidst all the kerfuffle with Comic-Con, because it does take up a lot of mental space. I actually did forget about the challenge, but Brad had put forward an idea of doing, at first, a week-long challenge called the Comic Lab Social Media Challenge, where you take all your social media off your phone for 1 week and see if your productivity goes higher. And Brad, can I just share with you some numbers, because you're going to be horrified?
Please
because
do.
I had a look. If you go under settings on your iPhone, screen time, and then tap on see all activity, and you will see how many hours over the days and weeks you have wasted on social media.
Yes.
And I'm throwing myself under the bus here. I could share with you my numbers, but I'm actually genuinely embarrassed to share these numbers.
You're not going to share that? Okay, that's.
I mean, I can. Brad, I texted him to Brad, and Brad went, "Holy hell!" I'll just be honest. It's 15 minutes here, 25 minutes there, half an hour here, an hour before bed, maybe 45 minutes when I'm having my morning coffee. So, I'll just be honest. I will throw myself under the bus. Why not be honest about it? Reddit sucked up 4 hours and 44 minutes in my day yesterday, Brad.
Oh, in one day? In one day?
In one day.
Holy
in one day.
crap.
I mean, I see how that Reddit's my big one for reading stuff. I do like Reddit, but 4 hours and 44 minutes. I get it. That's an hour before bed, a half an hour before breakfast, and 15-minute breaks during the day when my arm's hurting. But holy hell, what a waste. Think about what I could have been doing during that time.
4 hours is a lot of time. That's a lot of time.
And Brad, that's just Reddit. That's just Reddit. So
what else you got?
There's Blue Sky on there. There's Instagram that I don't even like.
There's nothing on Instagram.
Why is Instagram taking up so much of my day?
It didn't bring any joy to your life.
So anyway, there's YouTube, but I'll be honest, I was watching The Wrong Way, the hit new show from Brad Geiger.
That was okay. If you're watching The Wrong Way, that's
I literally
allowable.
was watching Wrong Way. I was kind of seeing how the cuts came together. But all this to say, I think this will be good for me, this challenge. And I am glad that I shared those numbers, as embarrassing as they are,
Yeah.
because holy hell, I think this is true for a lot of us, if we're being honest about it. You're waiting at the doctor's office. That's 20 minutes on social media.
Yep.
You're doing I could have been writing in that time. Just writing
True.
would have been such a good use of time.
Or just reading. You could have had an audio, for example, you could have had an ebook or an audio book, and you could have been recharging your creative batteries by even as something. I'm a really big believer in having audiobooks playing, and I love learning from great writing. I love learning from terrible writing, right?
Yeah.
You can learn so much from both of those things. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting there reading Shakespeare, you're recharging to a certain extent. You could have been doing that. You could have been passively listening to an audiobook in that doctor's office, and that's better for you creatively speaking than scrolling through Instagram, which gives you nothing and gives you no
It gives
joy.
me nothing.
Yeah.
It's like what's the phrase in eating? Empty calories? It's
Empty calories. Empty calories. So now my question to you is, are you going to do the full social media challenge where the other part of that we talked about?
Wait, hold on. What's the full social media challenge?
We talked about two things: taking social media off your phone, and when you go to bed at night, you put that phone on the other side of the bedroom, face down, do not disturb, plug it in so it can recharge, but you are not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and doom scrolling, putting a bright light in your face in a pitch black room, and then waking up in the morning saying, I don't know why I feel so tired, and I don't know why I didn't get a good. Well, yeah, you were shining a light in your eye at 3 o'clock. So are you going to do the other half that we talked about and put that phone where it belongs on the other side of the room?
Brad, you are a harsh mistress. It took me weeks just to get to this point. It took me. I had to build up the self-courage to the fortitude to do this. What a jerk. Okay, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm just going to say that. I'm not ready for that.
All right, that's okay. Baby steps. Baby steps.
Listen, baby steps. This is a big one for me. If I actually do this today, and I'm going to do it, if I delete all the social media from my phone, I've just bought myself hours in the day.
Think of what you're going to do with that 4 hours that you're not spending on Reddit.
Absolutely. I mean, even if I was just wasting it piddling around the house cleaning or something, I'm doing the dishes or, you know what I mean? I'm being productive, a better person.
Take my advice. And I'm serious about this. I'm not being a jerk here. Get an audiobook or an ebook, whichever you are more likely to replace Reddit with, right? And have that ready to go so that when you feel that itch to go read something on Reddit, you open that audiobook instead. Or if you feel like you need something in the background, like I know some people, and it's perfectly okay, they've got TikTok playing in the background while they're doing certain things. And it just auto goes to the next one and they listen to it and it's perfectly fine. And
now, is that someone, Brad Geiger?
No, it is not.
It sure sounded like Brad Geiger.
No, I was, but without throwing anybody else I live with under the bus.
Yeah.
But and it's it's like if you're in the kitchen doing some cooking, as opposed to listen to the radio, you just let TikTok go. And that's perfectly okay as far as I'm concerned. It's the same as listening to the radio. But if you're looking to replace that in your life, whether it's active like reading or a little bit more passive, and I put that in quotes because I think audiobook is reading too, but it's you know what I mean? You can be doing something else with your eyeballs. Like for example, if you're driving, that's a good place for an audiobook. If you're feeling like you want to scroll through something like Reddit, that's a good place for an ebook. My suggestion to you is have one or both of those things ready to go so you can real quick replace them. And so instead of itching, you're like, oh, this is when I read my audiobook for a little bit. Yeah, you don't have to feel as bad about that as you do about, going through the Leopards Eat My Faces subreddit like I was doing not so long ago.
Right. Well, that's a great idea. I think what I'm going to do is I normally I subscribe to 3 magazines. I get The Economist, The Week, and The Atlantic. And I think what I'll do is I'll start keeping them in my studio because when my shoulder is hurting from drawing, and I normally would sit down to rest my shoulder because it's good. It also is good to change what your eye is looking at. They always recommend middle distance, and I get my phone out like a dummy, right? So I'm not really doing my eyes any favors. So better to be reading printed light rather than projected light, and sit my little comfy chair by the window. Because, like you said, even then, even reading something, I am filling up my bucket again in terms of what I can have creatively. So
no, that's really smart, and like that's why I got a bunch of back copies of Hogan's Alley magazine and put them on my nightstand, because then I could sit there and open that up, and it's got real deep dives on stuff, so you can really read until you get sleepy, which for me, takes 3 paragraphs at best. Somebody is just held up a phone to the screen and is going through and deleting social media apps as we speak.
There goes Blue Sky.
Blue Sky out. Now,
okay, now hold on. I want to ask you a question about Discord. Is Discord social media?
Discord,
you got
to take a gut check on, in my opinion, because that's kind of like I administer Discord as part of Patreon rewards. For my Patreon, for Comic Lab, there's a Spice Rack Patreon Discord. So the question is, how much time are you spending on Discord? Do you need
not
to
a lot?
Not
a lot.
If it's not a thing, and you do need to check in and be an administrator on Discord, then keep Discord. Although you might want to use one of those applications or a setting in the iPhone that makes sure that you're not spending more time than you really need to be spending on Discord.
Right.
But
you know what? That's what I'll do. I'll use the screen time limiter to like 45 minutes a day for Discord. That's not bad. Because I do use it. I do like to. We have a wonderful Comic Lab community on Discord, and both Brad and I love to be able to chime in there with thoughts and advice and pro tips. And so, you're right. That one is more work a day.
Yeah. So I wouldn't beat yourself up about Discord.
But Brad, just having deleted these apps off my phone that I did just now, I might have bought myself upwards of 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, by the way, that I was wasting that much time. That is straight up embarrassing and ridiculous that I'm a grown-ass man wasting 5 hours a day on social media.
And now we've got Comic Lab listeners that post their comics on Reddit and get really good results from that. Sure. I don't think either of us have had that experience.
I do. There are times in my life where I'll do it sporadically, and yes.
But it doesn't mean, if you take off Blue Sky, there's another example. And we're still posting on Blue Sky. I use Scheduler, and I'm posting several times on Blue Sky. The thing about that is that I've got that off of my phone, and as a result, a lot of the reasons that people got pulled into this whole grip that social media has on us is that we were told 10 years ago when social media started that if you wanted to make your social media account grow, you needed engagement. And that meant that when somebody commented, you had to comment back right away. And that when that happened, the algorithm would favor you. And think of all the reasons the ways we talk about algorithm, the way people talk about gods on Mount Olympus, right? The algorithm's going to favor you and you're going to get engagement. If that was true 10 years ago, I can guarantee you it is either completely untrue today or so much less true that it's negligible. What my point is, you don't need to respond right away. You can do what I do, take that off of your phone, and then when I'm sitting here in the studio, I can go over on desktop as a little, momentary thing and check and see if I got a comment that needs to be responded to. I do that maybe once or twice a day, right? Mm-hmm. But you are limiting it by moving those actions to desktop. You're limiting that so much more than if it was in your phone all the time, 24/7, you got this phone around, right? Just doing that is a huge step in recapturing your own productivity and also recapturing your mind space. Because think about all of the stuff that's being pumped at you through these social media, some of which are good, most of which are not bringing you a scrap of joy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I look at those hours from yesterday on Reddit, and what did that gain me? What did that gain me?
Let me ask you this, putting you on the spot. What'd you read? Do you remember reading anything?
Yeah, well, oddly enough, I've been reading a lot about electric cars. I know it's stupid, but I've gotten really into electric cars now since I went to one. And so I'm actually oddly fascinated by how fast charging networks are expanding across the U.S. And we're currently at 70,000 units, Brad, of fast chargers across the U.S. And so I've actually been researching companies like Iona and EVgo and Electrify America, and I've been reading a lot about it. And I'm excited for the cars like Slate Auto that's coming out and the next generation Rivian that's coming out. And anyway, a lot of the non-Tesla stuff I get really fascinated and interested by. So I've been reading a lot of really random subreddits that are really obscure on electric cars. Brad, you know you're doing wrong when you're on a Chinese-specific EV subreddit about just Chinese EVs and like what they can do and because by the way they're really good and there's a reason why they're not letting them in the US.
I hear that if we allowed them into the United States for a minute, they would take over the entire auto market, is what I've heard from some people. They would do what
Toyota, Honda, and Nissan did in the 80s to the U.S. car market because they're so good and so affordable and they have so many features that the U.S. doesn't have. It's frankly sad that what the oil companies have pulled over the wool that they've pulled over Americans' eyes and current politics. Anyway, but so I probably wasted 4 hours reading about EVs yesterday, Brad. What does that gain me? I mean, I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. But now here's what's going to happen. Is my laptop going to suddenly make an appearance in my bedroom, Brad? Is that what's going to happen?
Maybe you never know. But
it's uncomfortable to read on a laptop for a long term. So I would, at the very least, I will read less. You know.
Yes, and again, it's that whole idea of shining a light in your eyes. Even I know you can dim it and all that crap. Shining a light in your eyes at 3 o'clock in the morning and then waking up tired and wondering why, I've got a real problem with. It's like put that phone away and go to sleep, and you won't wake up tired. It's very, and I say that with emotion because I was that guy.
Yeah, I am that guy.
Scrolling at 3 o'clock and waking up feeling like crap and wondering why. And finally, I sat down and had a talk with myself, and I'm like, hey, put that phone away and sleep through the night. And then those times when you wake up and you can't really go back to sleep, we're both at that age. Well, I'm a little bit further along where you get up in the middle of the night, you got to go to the bathroom, right? And now you're wide awake and you're lying there and you don't go right back to sleep. And the first impulse is, well, I'm up. I might as well see what's going on. No. You know what? Sit there and look at the ceiling, dummy. It's okay to be bored for 5 minutes until you fall back asleep. Guys, see how far you can. I've actually done this. See how far you can count. See how far. Can you get to 700? Can you get to 800? Let's just start counting. You'll be surprised. You fall right back to sleep. Sometimes I don't make it to 10.
Well, but all of what you just described is better than suddenly having blue light in your face and reactivating a whole bunch of synapses that we're trying to calm down. Yeah. So listen, I recognize that that's the next step. For this step, we're just going to see how I do after 1 week of taking this Comic Lab social media challenge. And I would invite friends that are listening to this to do it with us. It's going to be hard for me, so I'm saying this out loud. If we do it together, it might be a little easier when we check in this next week. I bet you, Brad, I'm going to have a more productive week. Yeah. I will have more time with my family. I will be more present with the people in my life. Yeah. I will probably either read, write, or draw more, all of which is good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'll tackle more things on my to-do list, which is ever growing because, you can't have a household and not have an ever growing to-do list. Yeah. So thank you is the short version. I think this is a good idea. And I'm embarrassed at how much I was wasting on social media. I'm just saying that out loud again.
I want to encourage people who are listening to the show to jump into the Comic Lab Discord server and let us know, are you taking the Comic Lab social media challenge, right? And the first step of which is just taking that social media off your phone and separating that way. and let us know. Let us know how it's going, and have the same kind of sense of self that Dave had, and be willing to tell on yourself.
Yeah, it might be helpful actually to say, because if you say it out loud, I remember I was legitimately embarrassed at first.
Yes.
But if you say it out loud, it's sort of freeing to go in a sort of AA way to say like, oh no, this is a problem. This is legitimately a problem.
Something I got to get on top of.
I got to get on top of. I can't just let this control my life. And that's clearly what was happening. Is that and the thing that I got to fight off is that at any moment of boredom, any moment of discomfort, I'll be like, oh, let's see what's going on social media. That kind of thing. What a waste. What a waste.
And then, like I said, have some stuff that is not social media ready to replace it, whether it's an audiobook, an ebook. You know what you could do? You could even subscribe to a new podcast and be ready to listen to the podcast. And at some point, when that podcast is over, you're going to hear those hosts say that you've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
Your hosts have been my delightful friend, Brad Geiger, who I am legitimately thankful for encouraging me to do this challenge. I really am. He's the editor of webcomics.com and the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com and the co-host of the new drawing show at wrongwayshow.com.
And my Comic-Con hero, Dave Kellett, who I am so thankful that you bring back actual numbers when you go to these conventions. There's so few people who are willing to do that.
I wonder if they were bad numbers, if I would bring them out, though. I'm just being honest about it.
No, but I mean, I just like the fact that you always hear people on social media saying, oh, I sold out of book 3. And it's like, okay, how many did you bring?
Well, you know what I didn't tell on myself, Brad?
Yeah.
I made a new Comic-Con exclusive pin that I loved. I thought it was such a fun idea.
Yeah.
Sold 5 of them. 5 of them, Brad.
What was the pin?
It was called, one of my favorite comic strip punchlines was pedantic, you ain't gotta be it.
Oh, I love that pin.
I love that, but I thought it was really fun, but nobody wants that pin. 5 of them sold, so I'm going to be selling that thing forever. I got a new still got it in my life, Brad. So not everything can be a win is the short version there, right?
It's not pedantic to say that you're still my Comic-Con hero, Dave Kellett, the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped and the cartoonist of SheldonComics.com and Drive at DriveComic.com, and another one of the very handsome co-hosts of the drawing show at WrongWayShow.com.
That's right, and the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net, and this episode was edited by the ever-wonderful Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
If you love Comic Lab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify, where we are burning up the podcast charts.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your continuing support at patreon.com/Comic Lab. So I will go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/let's not bury the lead. He used to use moose.
Hey, I looked good back then, too.
Did you? Or did you have the woven belt that you would kind of flop down?
Oh, I loved my woven belt.
We all had the woven belt in the 90s. Not a good look. Not a good look.
No, I kept it much longer than I should have.
As the camera pans down, friends, and we see a woven belt on Brad's jeans.
Well, you know what? You know what finally got me away from the woven belt? My wife showed me this belt in the store, and she showed me how the belt buckle could swivel. And one side of the belt was black and one side was brown. And she said, if you buy this one belt, it's like buying 2 belts. It's reversible. You got a black belt and a brown belt. And I never went back. You can't do that with a woven belt.
Oh, my God. You are the cheapest man alive. You are the cheapest man alive.
Let's see you turn down 2 belts.
God damn it! You couldn't just let it be. You had to put a topper on it. Like, David, there are 2 belts in one. I refuse to be called cheap. There are 2 belts in one.